The Big Bang Theory's weirdest reunion story was ruined by a surprise cancellation. After more than a decade of quirky science jokes, roommate disputes, and heartfelt friendships, The Big Bang Theory ended its 12-season run as one of television's biggest sitcom juggernauts. But just because a series ends doesn't mean its universe closes with it. Fans still crave returns, reunions, and crossovers, anything that keeps their favorite characters alive in new stories. And for a brief, tantalizing moment, The Big Bang Theory was on the verge of pulling off its strangest, most unexpected reunion storyline yet. It would have been a crossover nobody saw coming, involving characters separated not just by time, but by tone, setting, and even format. And then, just when everything was lining up, it was ripped away by a surprise cancellation. This is the story of what could have been the weirdest Big Bang Theory reunion imaginable, one that vanished before it had the chance to delight or completely baffle fans. A reunion hidden in the unlikeliest place. If you're thinking the planned reunion was for the upcoming Young Sheldon finale or Georgie and Mandy spinoff, think again. Those shows are built into the same continuity. Crossovers are practically expected. The real reunion was far stranger, falling into territory so unexpected that even hardcore fans would have done a double take. The setup was being crafted in Bookie, the short-lived Chuck Lorre Max comedy featuring Sebastian Maniscalco. For most fans, Bookie was just another entry in Lorre's long line of sitcoms, more adult in tone, more cynical, but unmistakably stamped with Lorre's writing rhythms. But Lorre was quietly constructing something else inside the series, a stealth mini Big Bang reunion folded into the fabric of Bookie's second season. The plan was audacious. Instead of a nostalgic sit-down or a cameo-filled anniversary special, Lorre was weaving former Big Bang Theory cast members into Bookie in ways both meta and surreal. Characters weren't simply crossing over, they were blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Season 1 had already tested the waters. Jon Cryer, playing a fictional version of himself, accidentally created a pathway for the kind of meta-humor Lorre enjoys. The Bookie world wasn't afraid to acknowledge Hollywood, and once that door was open, Lorre started planning bigger. By early development of Season 2, multiple Big Bang Theory cast members, including at least one core original star, were locked in for appearances that would play with the idea of their real personas, their on-screen legacies, and the absurdity of how sitcom fame translates into the Hollywood ecosystem. It wasn't going to be a Big Bang Theory reunion in the traditional sense. It was going to be Big Bang Theory characters meeting Big Bang Theory actors inside Bookie. It was the kind of TV experiment that could only come from a showrunner who had nothing left to prove. The weirdest reunion that would have ever hit TV. So how weird would this reunion have been? Very. At least one scene reportedly featured an actor from The Big Bang Theory joking about being mistaken for their own character, only to run into someone who looked suspiciously like one of their fictional co-stars. Another planned bit involved a cast member playing a heightened, chaotic version of themselves dealing with the legacy of their Big Bang fame in ways that parodied real fan interactions. Think something in the vein of Curb Your Enthusiasm meets Community's real-world versus fiction episodes. The tone was deliberately designed to clash with everything The Big Bang Theory represented as a series. Big Bang was polished, tightly structured, predictable in its rhythms. Bookie was scrappier, stranger, and darker. Seeing its world collide with Big Bang alumni would have created comedic friction worthy of a special event. And the reunion had one more special ingredient. Chuck Lorre himself was preparing to step in front of the camera for a cameo that would tie the worlds together. This wasn't just nostalgic fan service. It was a full-on experiment in genre and tone, powered by the shared history of a creative team that had built one of TV's last true ratings giants. Instead, the story ended before it even began. A surprise cancellation that killed it all. Everything was ready. Season 2 writing had begun. Scripts were being drafted. Guest actors were lining up. And then the news dropped. Max was pulling the plug on Bookie. The cancellation wasn't just unexpected. It was abrupt. There was no final season order, no wrap-up episode, no chance for Lorre to weave his weird crossover magic. The decision meant one of television's cleverest stealth reunion ideas evaporated overnight. For fans of The Big Bang Theory, this hurt twice. Not only did it eliminate a chance to see beloved actors share the screen again in a fresh, creatively risky way, but it also closed the door on a type of reunion the franchise has never attempted. Because Big Bang has always been safe, predictable, polished. This reunion would have been the opposite, a playful, off-kilter, fourth-wall-bending experiment that challenged the audience's expectations instead of comforting them. And the cancellation didn't just impact those plans. It also stung because of Bookie's broader significance. Bookie was becoming Chuck Lorre's experimental sandbox. By the time Bookie premiered, Chuck Lorre had already cemented himself as the king of multi-camera sitcoms. But he was also increasingly interested in breaking his own rules. Bookie was the first real space in years where he could experiment without necessarily needing to deliver a big network hit. It was scruffier, edgier, and more unpredictable than his earlier shows. The writers could take strange risks. Stories could veer sideways. And because Bookie existed on streaming rather than CBS, there was creative flexibility of a kind Lorre hadn't explored since the earliest days of cable comedy. That made it the perfect sandbox for something like a meta Big Bang reunion. Instead of dusting off the old apartment set or forcing the characters to interact in ways that undermined their endings, Lorre found a sideways door into nostalgia. Not through the characters, but through the actors and the audience's collective memory. A reunion like that only works in a world as odd as Bookie's, a world where Sebastian Maniscalco can trade barbs with Hollywood caricatures and John Cryer can play himself as a slightly unhinged gambler. It was the only universe where Big Bang alums could appear as themselves, almost but not quite acknowledging the show that made them famous. That strange alchemy died with the cancellation. What fans lost when the reunion disappeared. Some reunions are about closure, some are about celebration. This one was about surprise. The fan reaction would have been unlike anything the franchise had generated in years. Social media would have been flooded with "wait, what?" clips. YouTube channels would break down every meta reference. Headlines would have proclaimed the Big Bang Theory cast reunites, but not how you expect. It would have created renewed cultural momentum for a franchise that hasn't had a true cast-wide reunion since the series finale. More importantly, it would have proven there's room for creativity within the Big Bang universe beyond predictable spin-offs or nostalgia-heavy retrospectives. Instead, fans got nothing. No footage. No leaked scripts. No table reads. No behind-the-scenes photos. Just quiet, sudden cancellation, another casualty in the era of cost-cutting streaming decisions. And because the reunion was built into Bookie's structure rather than conceived as a standalone special, it now exists as a half-formed idea trapped in development limbo. Could the reunion still happen somewhere else? Possibly. Chuck Lorre still has a strong relationship with Warner Bros. And CBS. The cast remains on good terms. And the appetite for Big Bang nostalgia is proven. Young Sheldon was a ratings monster, and Georgie and Mandy's spin-off will extend the franchise further. But the nature of the reunion would have to change. That weird, meta, fourth-wall-bending tone? That was a Bookie thing. You can't drop that kind of cameo into a CBS sitcom without it feeling out of place. You can't put actors,